He has his hands full playing Mr. Mom currently while she's at work.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody here, I was telling Terry on the way here, I said, only crazy people will be at church today. Come out in this rain and weather. And sure enough, there's Ned and Barbara, and so my estimation is confirmed. No, I sometimes, you just dare the weather, and it just kind of be like the weather man. So either rain or gloom or snow. I don't think I'm going to be able to get anything that doesn't look cattywampus today, so forgive me. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Last Sunday we didn't broadcast, and I'd already known, and it'll be another one of those things that I forget again. But I often post personal things, a lot of things about the kids. I think that even our best friends and other family members get tired of seeing grandbaby stuff all the time. So I post a number of things. A few things of Avery's new Jag is cheering, so I've been doing a lot. But I usually, you can set it in Facebook so that only certain people could see those, and you can force those people to watch it, and everybody else is not subjected to it. So whatever you last posted, that's the setting it takes. So last Sunday, both Sunday school and worship were only broadcasting to 5 or 6 people. It just picked up that last setting. I know that you probably have no interest in that at all, but I just want to let you know that we figured it out, or I figured it out, or it figured it out itself for me. But Ned is here, and Barbara. Ned was just bringing us a little bit up to date on Betsy and her trials and tribulations. You still walking with your cane though, so
it's better.
It's getting stronger. Are you taking any medication for that, or got a brace on it, or a bandage?
No,
or
I'm not taking any medication.
Heating pad, ice? What?
I've used ice.
Okay. I think they say for inflammation use ice, and that's probably what you got going on there, some inflammation. But he tells me
doing much better.
Betsy has some new doctors and directives from Nashville, but it's still too early to point to that as for any kind of progress report. But she is observing some new directives and probably has some new medication, and they'll come up with some new ideas. But her greatest challenge right now is just being able to take sustenance. She has to be very creative about she's using how she is able to eat. Solid food is beyond her ability, so it's very discouraging, I'm sure. And you just imagine if there are all the wonderful things you enjoy eating, and just so many of those would be off the menu for the time being. So that is just one of the major manifestations of what she's struggling with. But pray for Betsy and keep her in your prayers all the time. Barbara, you said you got your other shot this week.
We got our flu shot.
Got your flu shot.
Yeah.
All right. She said that she's just a little bit soreness. You reminded me of the very first time. I guess I've had. I thought for the longest time I didn't have any heart problems at all. But many years ago, my first trip to the brand new heart center, there was a young lady who was trying to take blood from this arm right here, and she was brand new. She was poking around in there and grinding, and she said, in exasperation, she says, "I'm having a really bad day." And I said, "Yeah, me too." I said, "Yeah, you think you're having a bad day?" I said, "Why don't you go get somebody who knows what they're doing?" I didn't even put my contacts on this morning. I thought, oh my eyes needed a rest to begin with, but I keep forgetting I have to take these off to clean them. My eyelids don't clean them. I get a little bit of rain dots on there. It will soon be flu season upon us, and we're getting. we seem to be talking about the coronavirus or COVID-19 vaccine as if we had never heard of a vaccine before or we didn't have any understanding. But you have to get a flu vaccine every year, and some people get it and some people don't. We don't put people in prison who don't get a flu shot. You don't get a flu. You said you have had a flu shot.
I've had one in my life.
Yeah, there. So he was coerced into doing that under certain specific considerations for other. But now he can quarantine himself now. So we're not going to put Ned in jail. We might throw rocks at him or something like that.
Of course, when I was young, they wormed me twice a year.
Really?
Yep.
Did you go to the vet for that, or just?
Well, that's kind of standard procedure over there where I grew up.
Yeah.
That you kick your shoes off when school was out.
Yep.
You got a dose of worm medicine, and then got one that fall when you went back to school and put shoes on.
Yeah, and kept the parasites too at bay. Friday was Jenny Harwell's birthday, and I just walked past her a few minutes ago and didn't wish her happy birthday. I'm going to sing to her after a while. She stays for church. Tuesday is Terry's birthday, my wife's birthday.
We had our 54th wedding anniversary this week.
54th. Congratulations. Boy, that's
Long time.
It is. It is. 54 years. My. We just in 1st September we celebrated our 45th, and that seems like a tremendous milestone. But I think we are a rare breed these days that marriage doesn't. Still the older people hanging on to marriage. Many of the younger couples have already had their bout at divorce and remarriage. I don't have anything new about Houston Livingston. He was having some blood balance problems, some blood count problems that brought concern. I haven't heard anything about conclusions or results, but continue to pray for Houston. Kim's son, James Ward's great-grandson. Speaking of Jeannie Harwell, Jeannie and Johnny's grandson, Asher Harwell, is making preparations for being fitted with a shape cap. It's something that they do for little babies now when they feel like that they were born with some, with their skull needing some adjustment. It is something that during the child's growth can be adjusted without very much discomfort at all to the child or the family. Just wearing a special, it's like wearing braces on your teeth, more or less. But it would be challenging to the mom and dad, and I think the idea would be to convince the child that this is a very cool thing to have. It's like having a bicycle helmet. Continue to pray for Linda Crow. Linda's still not feeling great. She's still having some, they're working with medications, and she's still feeling somewhat out of sorts. Chandra had been under the weather quite a bit. I don't think we mentioned Chandra's. Usually our young adults, when something's wrong with us, we don't even mention them in prayer sometimes. That's a neglect, isn't it? But Chandra's, I hear, is feeling better. I think Terry spoke with her this week, but pray for Chandra's mother. Pray for Linda Crow. Yes, they found out, I think their inclination right now is to try to address the trouble that she's having with her heart, with medication and other things other than any kind of invasive procedure. There are others that we've been praying for and praying about. I'm looking down my prayer list here right now. Of course, Joanne didn't try to come in today, and I trust that she is well. Joanne Hunt, she lives in Huntsville, drives here every Sunday faithfully, but the weather sometimes does not permit. Randy called this morning. I even before I rolled out of the bed this morning, I thought I heard it raining. Sounded like it was raining. Randy said it's raining. So, you know, we probably wouldn't harm us if we got wet, but it's better. I don't like to. I'm kind of responsible for him, so I encourage him when we have bad weather. Plus, just kind of pulling up into his driveway can be a precarious situation if the water is standing. Larry Guthrie is going to be with us during the morning worship service, and we're going to dedicate our 200 Christmas boxes to Honduras. Time to time I hear people who are critical of anyone who does something for people in the next town or down the street instead of what they think of as taking care of our own. The kind of ministry that we share with the Honduran orphanages is unique. The kind of things we prepare and send to them probably wouldn't be well received here in our country or wouldn't be appreciated. For one thing, they're probably, to some extent, not the things that are in our boxes are not needed. I'm not convinced that anybody who lives in the United States ever needs to be hungry or without clothing or shelter. I think that someone that's in that situation is that the comfort and the provision that they need is available, and maybe someone hasn't noticed them, or we do overlook people, or we do sometimes. There are people that we might not see, and it's not intentionally. That's why we're always on the lookout. I often see people that I was not aware that they were having trouble. Something that I can do to help. That happens often. But there are many more orphaned children in Honduras than there are here in the United States. Folks that are of my ilk, who believe in the sanctity of life, there are, we as Southern Baptists, we have children's homes in various places. We support, and those who support life also support adoption and prenatal care, prenatal counseling for expectant mothers, ultrasounds. We have life centers. We have pregnancy centers. We're doing everything that we can to assist or to help people who find themselves in what they would consider an unwanted pregnancy. I am always in great admiration of any woman who finds herself in a difficult situation or circumstances that decides to keep her child. That to be quite heroic. But our ministry today, we believe, is selfless. It's not motivated by any altruistic attempt to aggrandize ourselves before other people or to impress God. We certainly do enjoy seeing the faces of the little boys and girls as they receive their packages, and they seem to be very happy and appreciative. And if that's a selfish motive to see that kind of response, then that's all right, I think. But I remember my mom and dad talking about when Christmas time came around for their home when they lived on the farm, to get an orange or an apple or some walnuts, English walnuts, or some kind of little trinket like that. Chewing gum was just a very elaborate kind of gift. We certainly are better off in many regards in modern times. Most of us are. If we can help someone, let's try to do that. And I hope that we also, yes, are sensitive to the needs of the people who live next door to us and who live in our neighborhood around us. But we're not ignoring them or excluding them from anything we might try to do to be of service. Let's pray, and pray for these people especially that we've mentioned. Continue to pray for Ann Sanders. J.L.'s birthday would have been Friday. We have launched into October now, so it's odd that we should be in the year 2021 and already October is upon us. We're going to be distributing candy and treats and goodwill and scripture on Halloween night here at the church. So if you have some candy or goodies that you can contribute, then we'd be glad to take those and give those away too. Just another way of saying we love you. We're thinking about you and we want to meet you. Let's pray together. Father, thank you for your goodness to us and your grace. I pray that our lives would be a reflection of you, but I know often that we are the glass darkly. We're the flawed, polished mirror that needs more polish. Use us. Help us to shine your light and to be your salt in a tasteless world, in a dark world. I know that we have many faults and shortcomings, but I pray that you would use even those to make us better people, and that we might also reflect better a great God. Thank you for those who are at our church this morning, but also those who could not be here because of the weather or health or other circumstances. Thank you for the privilege of speaking about you and in your name and about from the scriptures. For we ask this, Lord Jesus, in your name. Amen. We have two more lessons this Sunday and next Sunday in the book of Philippians. There are 4 chapters in Philippians, and we haven't by any means looked at carefully or in depth at every word or every passage or every verse. The book of Philippians is full. It seems to have joy as its primary theme. Christian joy. Joy is different than happiness. I think joy can produce happiness. I have the scratchings of probably not it's what would be called a working title. But at work I have a book in I guess in the mill in one of my folders called Happy is Stupid. It's not very reverent. Happy is stupid. Happy sounds like slappy. It sounds like hippy or dippy. It has to do with the word hap. Hap means like perhaps, maybe. And it's talking about chance. And happenstance is, it comes and goes. It's things that happen. I've mentioned it often, I guess. My dad's philosophy was that things happen. And things just happen. They just, there's no rhyme or reason, no purpose to anything, no point to anything. It's just, there's kind of, maybe God is overseeing it, the whole mess, but it's all just kind of being generated and popping up like out of thin air. Things are just kind of showing up, and God is just as surprised as we are to see anything and everything. And I don't believe that. I like being happy, but I know that there are many wonderful things in my life, and have been in my experience, though I've experienced unhappiness in my life. When I became a Christian, I began to be acquainted with the idea of having joy. Joy. Now, we talk about enjoying something, and I think that perhaps that's the only, or perhaps the most significant aspect of joy that we are familiar with, when we enjoy something. In other words, but that's almost like happiness. That makes me happy. I enjoy it. There are things we enjoy. There are things we don't enjoy, and sometimes that's the very depth. Joy, I think, is almost indescribable, undefinable. It is. Paul is going to talk about joy and about peace But the significant thing here in this study is that he's incarcerated while he's talking about these things. He's in prison. Probably not a great diet. People who are on a very restricted or difficult diet like Betsy would be able to tell us it's challenging when you don't have good things or nice things to eat, or you can't eat what you wish. You don't have to eat what you want. It's a particular kind of challenge, and it's one that we often take for granted until we might be in that. Paul was in jail. I don't know if he just had bread and water. That's what we seem to associate with being in jail. He had been, we don't know if he was in the Ephesian jail at Caesarea Philippi, or if he was, if this is his Roman imprisonment, which would be his final. You might question a person's veracity or their sincerity who's talking about wonderful things while he's in jail, while he's in prison. He's been separated from his friends. He has a team that travels with him. He has a support group. I hope you do too. I hope you have someone who prays for you and someone who calls you, or maybe someone even comes over and brings soup. Someone who sends you a card or a letter. I hope you have a support group. I hope you have people who say, how are you doing? Hopefully, maybe you have some Cajun friend who says, how you are? How you are? There might even be people in your on your speed dial or in your heart who even they might not even know when you're having a crisis or a tragedy. And those are the people that you might call or call out to. I remember I had a friend of mine who passed away many years ago. He was a fellow pastor, and we attended seminary together, and we became friends, and then we wound up serving as pastors in the same association. And he died. He was I think a couple of years older than me, but he was a health nut. He only ate healthy foods, and he walked every day. He was in extreme physical shape, and then his wife came home from a trip and found that he had passed. And that was a long time ago, so I guess he probably was in his early 30s. And it made me think. I think those things like that should make us think, reflect, question. Nothing wrong even with doubt. Finding answers, perhaps. Nurturing faith. But it made me think, if I broke my foot, I probably wouldn't have called Ronnie. I probably wouldn't have called him to come see me. Or if I was hungry, I probably wouldn't ask him to bring me a hamburger or a bologna sandwich. We were friends. We were good friends, and we enjoyed one another's company. But we didn't spend a lot of time together. We were very busy pastors. But I began to think, he's the best friend you got. He's your best friend. And I thought, well, I wonder if I was a good friend. Well, we didn't friend much together. We didn't do a lot of things together. And I began to cultivate at that time, establishing and creating or seeking out more friendships. But I'm finding that kind of comes and goes. I'd have to tell you right now that my greatest support group right now is my family. I don't have anyone that I play golf with or that I go fishing with. I have done that in the past. I used to hunt. I don't go hunting anymore. I've enjoyed hunting. And one time I gave away all my guns, hunting guns. I became a pretty good archer, and I could shoot a compound bow with some accuracy. And I was thinking about The only downside of bow hunting, though, was killing a deer. I never was all that great a fan of deer meat, venison, and yet I wanted to get out in the woods and wanted to shoot the bow. So I guess, but I did really enjoy shooting at targets, and I guess I probably still would. I sometimes wish that I had a bow. It's one thing we used to do when we were kids, when we were out running wild. Ned was talking about every summer kicking off your shoes and running, hardly putting shoes on all summer long, running through the woods. We used to make a lot of slingshots, or what really was a flip, or we'd come across some elastic or some probably an old bicycle tire. We could make a flip, shoot a rock, and just like Dennis the Menace, keep that old flip. I guess we called it a slingshot back then, but it was a flip. You know, you can get those. You can get those now that have an arm brace on them and everything. And
I have one.
do you?
Yeah, they're called a B-52.
Yeah, and you can shoot a ball bearing in that thing, and it's almost as powerful as a weapon, a gun.
An acorn.
An acorn will do the job too. Boy, do some target shooting with it. Can you shoot cans off of the back fence or anything?
Not that good.
Well, he said put a steel ball bearing in there, and pew, and boy, that's high tech. I thought, what? Actually, I don't know where I found one. It had like that surgical tubing, and mine had dry rotted. But I need to replace it. I do actually have a flip with an arm brace. I need to repair that and just see. I might be dangerous. Those were the kind of things Mother didn't want us to have. I used to have a BB gun, a Daisy air rifle. Had the kind that you cock. We still got one of those. Terry chases away stray dogs with it, or has in the past. I think she leaves the stray dogs alone now, but we got one propped behind the door just to shoots BBs. I've always wanted a pressurized air rifle, though. Never had one of those.
Do you know that they make those in 22 caliber now?
Really?
And 50 cal.
A pump kind where you pump up the pressure and shoot?
I don't know. I was in academy a while back looking for a pellet pistol since mine had died, and that wasn't CL2 operated.
Yeah.
You know, one you could do that to. And while I was looking, I saw that they actually have a 22 caliber pellet rifle in there. I didn't take it out of the box or look at it. I just read on the box and asked the salesperson about it. And I said, yes, and we also have a 50 cal that you can get.
My.
So I have no idea.
Well, things that have given us pleasure or joy in the past are things that we have enjoyed or that have been part of a strayed childhood. Those things might seem foreign to little girls. Usually didn't play with those kind of things, Barbara. I hope they didn't just play with tea sets and dolls because they were compelled to do so. I hope that if they wanted a BB gun, that somehow along, in spite of the fact that they might shoot their eye out, they may have gotten one.
No, I never had a BB gun.
Never had a BB gun. Well,
I had a jump rope.
There you go, jump rope. Playing with jacks, things like that. Let's look here in long introduction. Paul says, therefore, my brother, here in chapter 4 of Philippians, verse 1, therefore, my brothers, dearly beloved. He used the words brethren, not just talking to the brethren, but he's talking to the sister in there too. This is a term that came to describe a family of believers, brothers and sisters, dearly beloved and longed for. He's saying, I long for you. I miss you. My joy and crown. You see, he had started, if you look there in Acts chapter 16, you'll see that when Paul came into Philippi, and he started having prayer meeting out there by the river where the ladies washed their clothes and other people came to pray, and it was just a social gathering place, and he shared Christ there, and a number of people were, it says that God opened their heart, and they believed, and a church was founded. They were his joy and crown. What made Paul happy? Well, it was seeing, it was people like this that because of the fruit of his labor, they had received Christ. My dearly beloved. He calls them dearly beloved twice in this one verse. Dearly beloved. I dearly love you. There are people that I wouldn't call dear. It's one of those terms of endearment that I do use, and they don't want me to use that at work. They don't want me to call NASA employees dear. Hello, dear. Whether they're male, female, but I still, when I write a letter, I say, Dear John, Dear Sarah, I beseech Odious and I beseech Syntyche. That's two ladies, that they be of the same mind in the Lord. Not only were they having problems and troubles, and there were dissensions in the church, but there were two ladies that were just really had come to his mind. I entreat thee also, true yokefellow, help those women which labored with me in the gospel, with Clement also, and with other my fellow laborers whose names are in the book of life. He says, not just, he said, I don't want you to just, I'm not just singling out those ladies, but he says that those ladies and others were important to me. You know, it mentioned there in Acts 16, one of the most important women in the area, a businesswoman, was one of the first people who became a Christian in Paul's trip there. He says, rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Remember that he's writing from a prison cell. He says, you know, sometimes I think what would address a lot of our disagreements and our difficulties, our getting crossways, is what is it that we have that we could rejoice about? Finding things that we can easily see the things that make us unhappy. And he's saying, let me get you to focus on what should make you happy.
Have you ever heard the song Bed by the Window?
I don't think so.
It's old, very old song. It's about two men that are old men that run a home, and the one that has the bed by the window, both of them are bedfast. He describes little boy sweeping the sidewalk, the ducks on the pond, kids playing and everything to his roommate every day. This goes on for years. And finally, one day the man dies, and his roommate is just overjoyed he's going to get the bed by the window. When he gets a new roommate, well, they move him over to the bed by the window, and he looks out, and all he sees is a brick wall. And he goes right on describing to his new roommate
The birds and the trees and everything. Yeah.
That his past roommate has described to him.
You say it's a song.
The song,
I
Bed
bet
by
I
the
can
Window.
see if I can find it on YouTube. That's wonderful. Seems like I've heard that it uses a symbol, but one of them knew the source of joy, didn't he? Even if he was looking at a brick wall, he knew.
Right.
He had tremendous imagination and memory. He'd probably seen all those things somewhere before. That's excellent. But it's good. The man, when he got to the bed by the window, he could have been sorely disappointed, couldn't he? He couldn't have been mad or upset, but instead he got it. He realized that someone had cheered him up for many years and had encouraged him, and he could do the same. And it's not deception. It's just, and he wasn't saying telling him what he saw with his eyes, but with his heart and his mind. Very good. Let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand. The Lord's always close. Don't forget that. Be careful for nothing. Now, he's not saying be haphazard or dangerous living. He's saying don't let your life be overwhelmed by your cares. We can have so many cares that what he means is let the Lord take care of those things, and let's realize that there are so many things, most things in our life we cannot change or adjust. But he says, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are honest, and whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, and whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. I think I was telling someone just Friday night, when I lay my head down on the pillow at night to go to sleep, I decide what I want to dream about. I don't know if everybody can do that or not. I guess I'd recommend that you try it. If I just lay down and just conk out, I may have all kinds of strange dreams and even nightmares from time to time. But my last thoughts before I go to sleep are usually what I dream about, and it can be about anything that I want. I can dream. I don't dream about the brick wall outside the window, but I dream about I have found we can direct our thoughts. We can purpose our minds. We can shape our imagination. We are the gatekeepers of our mind. And the reason I read or listen to music or fill myself with so many rich things and seek out so many of life's experiences is because they're always in my filing cabinet. They're always at my fingertips. And I reach, if I sometimes have to go to occasions that I wouldn't enjoy. I can sit wherever I'm at and listen to the world's greatest music. Not from my cell phone or even from an earpod or an iPod. It's in my mind. It's in my heart. I can listen to messages and songs. I can relive experiences. I can go back to my childhood. I can think of what I want to do tomorrow. I'm never bound to listen just to a boring report or message. Those things which you have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do, and the God of peace shall be with you. And so, I see out on the internet a lot, social media, a lot of anger and negativity and criticism and a lot of cancel culture, and people can choose their demeanor. We can choose. It takes discipline, but we can shape how we feel about things, and we can make decisions and choices. We can wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to be happy today. I'm going to approach even my sadnesses with confidence. Paul says, as a Christian, you have Christ in you, and Christ is your example. He said that in chapter 2, to help shape that He's in you. You have, he says, I'm talking about the kind of things that are available or they're possible for any human being. But he says, since Christ is in you, you have the ability to pray and seek God's help, to make your supplications, to be thankful, to choose to be thankful, and to seek His grace and to celebrate. He says, you're really focusing in upon the things that make you angry and the things you don't enjoy and the things that bring you displeasure. And that's going to make sparks fly between you. And he says, no, don't be like that. He says, I'm talking about not the peace that has to do with no conflict, not the kind of peace where everybody agrees with you, not just the kind of peace where everything is going fine, but the kind of peace that passes understanding, the kind of peace that, so I said, well, I don't understand how you can be so calm, or how you can accept this, or how did you manage to get through that? He says, God has that kind of peace. And as a matter of fact, Jesus said, when he was departing from his disciples after the resurrection, he says, I want to give you my kind of peace. We hear songs about it, peace in the midst of the storm. Peace, not because it's a beautiful day outside, but peace because there's a quiet and a calm inside us. There is a tendency in many people today to love the commotion and the stirring and the noise and the racket and all of the all of the fireworks. But he is saying, those are the kinds of things that stir up the dust from the bottom of the pond. He says, I'm talking about things that are deep-rooted and sound and solid, and they're clear and penetrating. And they may not make loud noises, but it may be the calmness that we need. We've got one more lesson in the book of Philippians, and he's going to be talking about the kind of peace that can bring contentment. We're going to look at the contrast between, in chapter 3, he talks about, I'm ambitious, he says. I'm striving, I'm pressing toward the mark. But then in chapter 4, the last verses, he talks about contentment. There's a balance between seeking to be better and accepting yourself as you are, of seeing goals and things that are ahead and yet realizing, what about where I'm standing? And he's not saying it's either or. It's almost always in the Bible, both and. It's good to see you two here today, and we've had several who are tuned in this morning. Appreciate your presence and visiting with us. We're going to have a special guest in the 11 o'clock hour. Larry Guthrie is going to be with us. So God bless you all. Keep each other, especially those that we've mentioned by name this morning, in your prayers. Be careful as you go home to your charges. Let me finish this up here.